Two of the biggest names in the video game industry are that of John Romero and John Carmack, the two Johns. John Romero and John Carmack are mostly known for creating not only the FPS genre, but 3D video games in general. Even though they may not always be credited for such, because there might have been other things made before them, they are still known for that. But they're even better known for id Software and also the games that they made with that company. Today, February 1st of 2022, marks the 31st anniversary of id Software, and for that, we're going to be doing a brief history of the company and its founders. John Romero's stepfather had once told him that he couldn't make any money making video games and that he needed to make actual software, such as business applications. And Carmack's mother had told him that he had got good grades, so he needed to stop playing games and go to school at MIT and get a job at IBM. But what do they know? These two people, they decided to work on what they loved, and that was video games. Both of them ended up in the 1980s getting a job at SoftDisk. SoftDisk was a company that was distributing software monthly that was always being constantly made, somewhat like a monthly subscription that was being sold to them and shipped to all their subscribers on disk. And they decided to open up a branch where they would be making monthly games. And there they worked on multiple games, and while working there in the 1990s, John Carmack discovered a new technology that was working perfectly for side-scrolling, where the pixels would move smoothly and perfectly on a screen on a PC. And they realized it was the same technology that Nintendo is using on their Nintendo systems for Mario Brothers and other games. And because of that, they realized that they could port Mario Brothers to the PC. So that's what they worked on. They worked on a demo for Super Mario Bros. And they sent it to Nintendo, saying that they wanted to help port the game. But Nintendo sent back a letter telling them to halt their production immediately and that they shouldn't be working on that. But that's all they needed to know. Even though they couldn't work on Super Mario Bros. For the PC, they knew that their software worked. And with that, they knew that they had something that was bigger than SoftDisk. After being reached out by a new company, Apogee Software, they decided to join them. Apogee was using a different technique for selling, not monthly disc, but using shareware. Shareware where you'd be selling games, but first releasing a demo or a free level, and then afterwards other people would pay for more levels. And the concept was very new, but they decided to go for it. Using their side-scrolling technology that they developed, they created the 2D platformer Commander Keen. And from there, they worked on several more titles. But John Carmack and John Romero decided their technology could be used for even more. And that's when they decided using their pixel-perfect side-scrolling method to work on a first-person shooter titled Wolfenstein 3D. They left Apogee Software and they formed their own company, id Software, on this day 31 years ago. They had gotten the rights to make a Castle Wolfenstein clone, Wolfenstein 3D, except for in the 2D fashion it was now 3D. It was pseudo 3D. It's different than the 3D games we see today, but back then this is one of the biggest revolutions in the gaming industry. Tons of people liked it. They took the same Apogee method of using shareware. They distributed free levels. Then afterwards, they sold more levels from there. Where more people bought it, they were able to create more levels and keep on selling them. They ended up using this engine for their 3D side-scrolling, and they decided to work on their own IP. And this IP is what was released as Doom. It's one of the greatest games of all time. It's one of the most famous and most popular games. We all know it. Doom was so good that any other game that came out similar to it was deemed a Doom clone. But once again, Doom is a lot more different than any 3D or FPS game we see nowadays. It doesn't have all of the axis of movement in a 3D world as you can imagine in games now. And because of that, the two Johns began working on a new engine, and this engine was ended up using to create the game Quake. And Quake was a game similar to Doom, except set in an arena style where you're playing multiplayer against tons of other people, where it had controls over the X and the Y axis in the 3D world. From there, the company never released anything extremely big, but they would always be known for creating some of the first 3D games and first-person shooters. The Johns over time left the company over several different reasons over the years. But after a long time, recently, the company was bought by ZeniMax Media, which is owned by Bethesda. And as we know, the IPs, both Doom and Wolfenstein, have been remade. So now there's a new Doom game and there's a new Wolfenstein game. And even though they're not made by the two Johns, both of these games do extremely well. And one of the Johns is John Romero. He is working on a game currently that he had kickstarted. It was kickstarted quite a while ago. I believe he's still working on it. So you can go ahead and check out that if you want to check out his work. Or if you want to check out what id Software has today, you can check out the Doom game from 2016 and 2020 and the Wolfenstein The New Order. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and this was a quick brief history of the company id Software, and you guys liked it. Feel free to subscribe. My channel, I cover over game programming and techniques and whatnot. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and like it, and see you guys again next time. Goodbye.